So the operation of the statistics calculator from the main screen is pretty much the same as you would expect any other calculator. Just make sure that you know that the calculator will use order of operations. So if you do an operation like this, you can either press calculate or hit enter. As opposed to putting parentheses around your numerator, you can get different answers. So make sure you know if you need to have parentheses in your calculation or not. It will also do some other basic calculations. If you need to do exponents, you can do, caret for an exponent. It'll interpret that correctly. If you need to do some other kinds of operations in different classes, it will do that as well. It knows basic constants like pi, for instance. It knows what that is. So you can get a lot here. And for statistics, you probably won't use this so much. Or you might, who knows. But the main thing that you need it for is lists. So if you go to the list editor, the one thing that I want to mention is you have two different lists, L1 and L2, that you can put data into. And you can just type in data items one at a time, and that's perfectly fine. Now, as you get down toward the end of L1, as you press tab, it will kind of scroll you down to the next group of cells. But you can always scroll back up pressing this button. So the up arrow or the down arrow, it'll kind of scroll you around. Or if you press shift and then you use your mouse to drag, you can get around that way as well. It's not the most efficient way to do any sort of calculation or get, if there was a scroll bar, for instance, on the side, that would be better, but just the way the calculator is made, it doesn't have that. But anyway, it's got some basic things here in the list editor. And if you need to do any kind of calculations based off of a list, like the mean, for instance, I believe you can do, no, you can't do mean L1, but you can do single variable statistics for everything in L1. So just tell it you want to do basic statistics on the stuff in L1, and it'll calculate mean, standard deviations, your 5-number summary. It'll do all that stuff for you. Similarly, let me clear out the stuff in L1 and L2. Let's say you have some group data. I'm just putting in something random here, and let's suppose these are frequencies. All right, now if you just did the one-var stats of L1, this would be your information. But if you treated the information in L2 as if they were frequencies, you get different results. The reasons why you get different results will be explained in the class, but that is the operation of the calculator. You can use weighted statistics or non-weighted statistics in the list editor. Another thing you can do in the list editor is apply a formula to a set of numbers. So if you have some numbers here in L1, let's say you want to define list 2 as 2 times the items in L1 minus 4. All right, so if you hit apply formula, it will do that for each of the items in L1. Not something that you may find particularly useful a lot, but it's nice that it's there if on the occasion that's something that you need. So for instance, if you wanted to know if you double all the values in L1, if you get a different result for the mean, for instance, you could do that. So like one-var stats, let's do the data in L1. If we hit calculate, there's the mean, 4.43. All right, if I do the one-var stats of the data in L2, which is double each of those data items, it does change the mean. So you can investigate stuff like that if you need to. The last thing that you might need for the first chapter is linear regression. You will need some data in L1 and L2. Let me put some more random stuff in here. Alright, so I have some pretty random data in here. Now, if I want to do linear regression, then I would do the linear regression on the data in both lists, hit calculate, and it will tell me how my data is correlated. So this is my correlation coefficient, R. This is the square of that value. Sometimes that's requested. A and B, these are the slope and y-intercept of a line of regression for that set of data. So you can do linear regression with the data in the list editor that way. And the nice thing is you don't have to remember the names of any of these functions because the most used ones that you'll run into will all be right here. I'll explain what these are in a later video, but for now, that kind of helps you out without having to remember the names of stuff all the time.